Growing up, I had some friends who were really into humble pie, but it wasn't really until Frampton Comes Alive, because Peter Frampton was in Humble Pie, that people started looking back at Steve Marriott, the leader of the band, and realizing, wow, these guys were putting out some good music. Well, the former leader of Grand Funk, Mark Farner, who's just released a new album, there'll be information in the description where you can pick it up. Mark was, as I said, the leader, lead guitarist, lead songwriter, lead singer of Grand Funk, and he knew Steve Marriott and Peter Frampton. We'll talk about that and a lot more on Rock History Music. Frampton just got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Did you get to know him?
Yeah, Peter's a great guy. Yep. He when he split off, I didn't understand why, but he made it on his own. And what was that song, this big song? Uh, you know,
Show Me the Way.
yeah, Show Me the Way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have covered that. He had a big song there. And that really was his feather in the cap because I don't remember anything else.
Well, it's interesting that a live album would introduce people to music as opposed to the other way around. It just that
Yeah.
was a
Yeah. Very
uh,
talented.
to you. Who was Steve Marriott?
He was humble pie. I mean, his energy. You listen to Humble Pie, all those guys jammed to a boombox of Motown and R&B, Brother John. They were just stuffing it before they went out and took the stage. And Marriott, he was so animated when he took the stage. He was that guy. He was that soulful cat, and it came out of him. And after we would get done doing a gig, we'd go into a tavern someplace, and Marriott would sit across the table from me, and we're both singing to each other. He's singing and I'm harmonizing, and pretty soon there's everybody in the place is like around our table, and they're like going, "Yeah, man, yeah."
I've never asked you about Craig Frost. How did that happen? How did he get into the band?
Well, Craig played in the Pack, and Craig, he started off as a drummer, a stand-up drummer. He did not sit down. I said, "Why do you stand up?" He says, "How the hell is anybody going to see me if I'm sitting down back there?" His dad was a drummer that stood up, and that was his shtick, But he was a hell of a drummer. And then Frost, when he switched from drums to keyboards, it was just a very percussive way of playing. And he had the Flint funk all over him. Seriously, anybody from our neck of the woods, you got to have some of that. It's just going to be inherently there. So Don and Mel wanted to add a third, and I thought we were doing good 3-piece, but they wanted to add, and as it turns out, I think it is my opinion that he was added and that I was outvoted 2-1 because Don wanted to write more songs than I was able to furnish him with. He wanted to write more. And so Craig wrote songs. From that point on, you can see in the songwriting credits on the albums what happened. But Craig's a hell of a player, and he is a lifelong friend of mine. I love this guy. We used to do things together that nobody else would believe.
What was the best to you? What was the best decade of rock?
The best decade, as far as I'm concerned, was the 70s. Yeah, because it was coming out then. It was all without a click track. There's something to that. And the people owned the networks back then. You could play Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Ohio. You could request it. And let me tell you something about that song, brother, that you may not know. And I don't know if you know that I play out of concert pitch. I'm not in 440. My concerts, my records, for the last 10 years, I've cut in A432. It's part of the solfeggio scale. The solfeggio scale was lost, and then this guy found it in 1971 and kind of reintroduced people, and the tone of things, like the color of things, you know, it has to do with our well-being. And For Dead in Ohio, I'm listening to that song, and I'm tuned to 432 because it's speaking to me. And I got a guitar around my neck, brother, and I'm listening to this song because I want to pick up how he does that intro. And I start playing it. I went, are you kidding me? I'm in tune with their recording. They cut that thing in 432. It wasn't in A440. It was 432. And I don't know if maybe the guitar had just sagged to that point, because sometimes you play an acoustic guitar long enough and all the strings kind of take a little, they release a little bit and they're not right up to the tune. Maybe that could have happened, or it could have been intentional that they tuned to 432, because it's not that much. It's only 8 tiny little increments down to, 432. But that frequency is compatible with everything in nature. The 432, a guy sent me a link, and he had a 15-inch driver in front of a kiddie pool on a deck, had a tone generator and an amplifier, and he kicked in A2, which is the second A on a piano up, still low, in front of this, with a 15-inch driver in front of this kiddie pool. It put chop on the water. I mean, it was just like, shh. I'm watching this. Then he turns it to 432. See, first the A440, chop. 432, same note, same decibels, 125. And brother, pain starts at 90. So 125 is just beyond pain. And it's glass. It's a sheet of glass. No movement whatsoever in that water. And I looked at that. I went, bing, the lights went on. All right. Because he said, after you view this link, call me. So I said, okay, you got my attention, man. What's up with this 432? Then he kind of explained it to me. He says, have you got a headstock tuner? And I said, yeah, I got an old headstock tuner. He says, can you, detune it? And I said, yeah, you can go flat and sharp with it. And he says, go down to 432 with it and tune that acoustic guitar of yours and just, fall in love with it. And I hung up with him. I tuned that thing. And it was like, when you come into tune at 432, there's a little whistle that accompanies that note. It's a harmonic that you almost don't need a tuner if you can just fine tune into that whistle. So I get it down to 432, and it's not louder. I mean, how could it be louder? I'm not playing any harder on it, but it's more. It's filling this room that I'm in, and I'm playing in my kitchen. I'm thinking, my God, is it me? And so I grabbed my other guitar and I played, and I said, no, it's the tuning. And 432, brothers. Back then, we didn't know, but people, when I start playing that song in concert, they almost run to the stage. They get up, they're excited. They heard it in 432. I'm playing it to them in 432. There is an association beyond what our mind can even perceive of. It is something that is inner dimensional, and the music brings it out. And so I'm always in 432 now, and I recut I'm Your Captain Closer to Home in 4-3-2 with Mark Slaughter. And we did a drum map. And when Brewer sped up and then slowed down, because there was no click track, he would speed up, slow down, speed up. It was all over the place. If you look at it on a piece of paper, I'm going, oh my God, really? You know, but we had a drummer in California who played to that map and played all the parts on the Ludwig drums, the same types that Don Brewer cut that track with, so that it can be, you know, people can associate the sound of it. And now they can appreciate it in 4-3-2 when Same Game comes out.
By the way, speaking of the using the snow to shave or whatever, is that what you guys were doing when you were that poor before?
Well, that, you know, that whole thing, melting down snow. Listen, we had never seen the ocean before, right? We're from Michigan. We're these young kids, 19 years old, out there in summer cottages on Cape Cod. Everything froze up. The pipes froze up. First it melted. The snow was melted down in the crawl space where we put all of these starfish and sea biscuits and all of these shells, because it's the first time we ever been to the ocean. We were going to take some of this back to Michigan with us. Dude, it all got froze into that ice. We had to leave it behind. We didn't pull one starfish out of there. So we're melting down, and we only have oatmeal. No sugar, nothing but oatmeal, no butter or anything to put on it, no syrup, oatmeal. We had a little salt. So a little salt and oatmeal, but it was good for us to get to that point where we were all surviving together and we were all dependent on the sanity of the next person to keep us zeroed into that sanity. Oh yeah, we're gonna work our way through this, but we got to eat oatmeal until that happens. Brother, we had an old chair that didn't have a bottom in it. It was a kitchen chair, wooden chair. We would line the sacks that we got from the East Sandwich grocer with plastic, and we'd take that chair in the bathroom. Hey, what a great place to take a shit, right? In the bathroom. And we would do it in that plastic lined paper bag, roll it up, and out it went, someplace buried in the snowbank. Each guy would do his own little thing, make his own little trail out there and deposit. And I thought, oh, I would have hated to been the dude for spring cleanup around there, you know? Oh my gosh. It was bad. It was bad, but it was good for the soul. Bad for the band, because when we got home, Brother John, two of the guys were married. Craig Frost, who eventually became keyboard player for Grand Funk. His wife was threatening divorce. He had to quit. Kenny Rich, our guitar player from Canada, his wife, same deal, made him quit the band. And Rod Lester, who was playing bass at the time, he wasn't married, but the gal was not real happy with him that he was living with. So there we were, Don and I. And when he, said, well, what are we going to do? I said, dude, we should start a 3-piece band. And they can't be married. They can't even have girlfriends, okay? We don't want the women ruining our band. And we went up and we were at Delta Promotions in Bay City, which was the outfit that sent us out to the East Coast in the first place, told us that if we did good on this promotional tour, it was pitched to us as a promotional tour. It said, if you do good, we can go back and charge money. We didn't know that we were getting paid $350 a show. That came out later, and then we were really pissed. So we went to give them a piece of our mind and find out what happened to that money. And we're in the outer offices waiting for our turn to get in to talk to Kehoe, the head honcho. And it's a rehearsal facility too, and a recording facility at Delta Promotions at that time. And Question Mark and the Mysterians was in rehearsing. We didn't know it was them. We could just hear a band in there. And I'm hearing the bass coming through the walls, and I said, Brewer, man, you listening to this bass player? He says, yeah, how could I not listen to him? That's all that's coming through is the bass and the kick drum. I said, he can play. He said, yeah, man, let's find out who that is. Well, when they took a break, Mel Shocker comes walking out, and I go, Melvin. He goes, Mark, man. It's like, we went to the same school together. We hung out together. We jammed together. We smoked pot together, rode dirt bikes. I mean, we were buddies. And when I told him what we were up to, he said, man, this must be from God, because I'm having a hard time in this band right now. And I would be happy to join you guys. And we started rehearsal the next week, Brother John, in Flint, Michigan, at the Flint Federation of Musicians on Averill Street there. And Frank Guy, I'll never forget him. I can remember him coming out, and he's going like this. He's going, boys, turn that down. We can't even hear the phones ringing in here. Yeah, well, we wrote the music there. They'd go take a break and go get the food, burgers or whatever, get some lunch, and I would write the words to the song. I would be jamming a jam. They go, what's that? It's a jam, you guys. It's a jam. Do you have lyrics? No, but I'll have them by the time you get back. So that's how it happened. Most of the first album was exactly like with the exception of Heartbreaker.
My son is quite a serious musician, but his guitarist wants to ask you these just two questions. Ask Mark why he never used big guitar amplifier brands like Gibson, Marshall, Fender through widely accessible at the time. Why he didn't? Okay, that's the question.
Okay, well, I am kind of a home state guy. I was born in Michigan, Flint, Michigan. I have stayed in Michigan all my life. I could have moved. People were trying to get me to move to Nashville because it's 10 hours to Dallas, 10 hours to New York City, 10 hours to Detroit, centrally located for touring. Just think of the miles you'll save, the money in fuel you'll save, they say to me. And I said, but I don't have a love for, I got people in Michigan. I got family in Michigan. I got Michigan in Michigan. It's right here, brother. That's exactly right, Brother John. I got trout streams. I got to fish. There's just things that keep me here. So that being said, when I knew that West Amps was, available, and how would I know this? Well, because I worked at the factory putting West Amps together. I put speakers in cabinets. I soldered on the circuit boards. I did the traces. I made the hookups. I did every part of building those West amplifiers. And when I worked for Dave West, and so did Dennis Bellinger, who was the bass player on the Grand Funk albums, What's Funk and Grand Funk Lives in 81 and 82. And, with that, every time we took a break, we were playing these amplifiers, and I would go and set on the drums. If the other guys, that were working the factory, they would play guitar and bass, and then I'd go out and I'd play guitar, then I'd play bass, and, we all kind of swapped around, and I loved what those big 15-inch speakers sounded like. I said, man, this is what a guitar needs to sound like. This is what I play through today, brother. When I backline, when we are flying all over the country, all over the world, I have 15-inch speaker enclosures that I play through, and I use Fender amps because that's closest thing I could get to a West. And the West is not available in every city, the same like a Fender Twin or a Fender Deluxe or a Fender Super is, or a Bassman. But we use, when you fly, you got a backline, and there's all these backline companies now who supply all of our instruments, the keyboards, the drums, everything. Our drummer brings his own pedals and his sticks and what have you. But everything else is backlined, except for, of course, I carry my axe. I carry Betty, my guitar tech from Cleveland. He carries Ruby, and she's my backup. And then Paul, he carries his bass from Detroit, Paul Randolph. And our keyboard player from St. Augustine, Mark Hoyt, he was carrying his little Hammond, but now you can backline them, and so we don't have to take a chance of something getting broken in transport. The backline companies always keep their gear up, and we always get pretty good sound out of it. So as long as I got my 15s, I'm playing it. But that all came from playing the 15s and getting started with the West amps, and we carried those amps to Europe with us, brother. We had those big containers that went under the bellies of the 747s. Yeah. We carried 17,000 pounds of PA with us over to Europe, and our speakers, and it held up. So, God rest Dave West's soul, but I did not care for Marshall amplifiers. I played through them. I tried to play through them, and I only lasted maybe 2 or 3 chords. And I said, this cannot achieve the sound that I like, that I use. But I can get it through a Fender amplifier. I can get that song, the sound of the songs that I made. And I use my old 1970s stomp boxes. I got a $35 chorus, an Arian stereo chorus. That's a plastic, they call it a piece of crap, but it's the best chorus, man. I love that chorus. And it's been with me for years and years and years. And I use my pedals. I got a volume pedal. My guitar is wired wide open. It has no volume controls on it. Just because when I'm playing, sometimes I hit those knobs. Well, none of the knobs mean anything to my guitar because it's all wide open inside. It's just wired, full blown, all you can get out of it. And that's, through my amplifier system, that's what I use. And I get virtually the same sound every place I go.
If you want to donate to the channel, there's a PayPal link at the very top of every video we have. Also, if you want to join our Patreon, there's a link at the very top. You'll get early access to all our videos. And a swag store. Yes, we have one where you can get rock history music and all the clothing that goes with it with those great logos. Subscribe to our channel, share our videos, comment on them, and like them as well. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. Take care of yourself.